What's the deal, my people? You know it is Untitled Teflon, and I'm back at you another one. And this one is my breakdown of the new Nate Parker movie, American Skin. In this video, I will give you all the Easter eggs and details you missed to set you up and get you ready for the release of this great movie that I believe will be great, at least, American Skin. And before we set this off, if you can, please thumbs up this video, share this video, subscribe to me on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Now let's get right into it. The first thing we see is the logo. The logo is a black background, which means that black people in this country are always in the background, always marginalized. We see American in white. That is because when anyone thinks of an American, they always think of a white person, when that is truly not the case. And we see skin in black because that is what we're dealing with, the black-skinned Americans that live in this country. And we can see that that is encased in a white rectangle, and that represents how black people have been since we've been brought over to this country. We have not been free. We've been surrounded by white people and put in a box, and this box is a rectangle. All right, let's get into the video itself. One of the biggest meanings behind this trailer is the shoe is on the other foot, and that's what we see constantly in this trailer. What would you do if this happened to you, and how would you feel if this happened to you? We start in a situation that we have seen many people in, but the shoe is on the other foot. Right now, the police officer is being interrogated by what people would consider the criminal, and that's part one. And he asks him, "Do you remember me?" And the cop looks at him like, "No, I don't remember you. You're not important to me." Like whatever happened to him didn't matter to him. Like he's done something so many times that it's just water under the bridge to him. And then we go from that scene to seeing exactly what he's talking about and why he asks him, "Do you remember me?" To me, this is one of the most powerful things I've ever seen in film. And we could break it down like this. We see him there with a bulletproof vest on, and we see him there in like a maroonish, purplish, maroonish, let's say maroon beanie on his head. And that's going to come back in the trailer a little bit later on. In fact, I think this beanie has significant meaning, and we'll see that from the next shot. Next scene is something that is a very scary scene for many black Americans, and that is a typical traffic stop. And we see on July 3rd, 2017, that the officer that he is interrogating was involved in this traffic stop. And we could see in a little bit later, the next scene actually, that he's not alone in this car. He is also there with his son. So we see that there are two police officers during this stop, and it's this officer that's on body cam 2, Randall, that is the one who is being interrogated by him later. Now we see in the next scene, and this is a very telling scene. Number one, we see it's an Officer Hollander that is the one who's pulling him over and the one shining light in his face. When you look at his face, you can see he's very clean cut at this particular time, showing you that there's no threat here. He's a nice guy. He's a nice, clean cut guy. In comparison to when you see him later, when he has the guy under interrogation, he has grown his beard out. He looks scruffy with the beard. So that's the difference that they're trying to say. There was no reason for this officer to look at this man and see that he's some type of threat. Next, you can see he has a hoodie on, and that hoodie is to represent Trayvon Martin. Now, that hoodie just happens to be the exact same color as the beanie that he's wearing later on that we see when he has the officer under interrogation. So he could either have made this beanie from that hoodie, or he could have bought a beanie that color because it reminds him of the event. One of the two, I believe it is. Next, we see the officer contemplating what he's talking about, but they show us exactly what that is in the next scene. He gets pulled out of his car, his hands on his head. We don't know the exact reason why, but we do know that the other officer, Randall, does pull his gun on his son. And when he does it, he tells him he only has a cell phone in his hand, yet you still chose to pull your gun on his son. When his son shows him that it's a cell phone in his hand, he still pulls the gun on him. We don't exactly know why, but this causes the officer to shoot and kill his son. And that's what puts him on his mission. What also causes him to go on his mission is this: what we know to be the likely outcome when the police officer kills a black person, and that is that they get off. This is not just at this time, this is from the beginning of time, and not just police officers. This has happened with white people since black people have been in this country. If you killed a black man, unarmed black man, for no apparent reason, eventually you will get off. Whether it's a grand jury or no charges filed, that's eventually what happens to you. The next thing shows the aftermath before the officers are not convicted of this crime or even put on trial because of it. It humanizes this man's son, and I think that's what people really need to take into account. That these people that are being killed, these black men that are being killed, whether it's George Floyd or women like Breonna Taylor, they are people's sons. They are people's daughters. These are people who have families, who have loved ones. And I think that when you see people on TV, that does not come across. He makes that point come across by showing clips of his son when he was a child. You know, when you raise a kid from being a child, a baby, to almost an adult, that's a lot of years. That's a lot of memories. And all that to be taken away from you for just one split instance of being pulled over is devastating. We see him going through the protest that we see all the time that happens, peaceful protests, but where does it really get us? It doesn't get us anywhere, and it doesn't get him anywhere. We also see him again in that same color, the color that he had in the hoodie when he was out there with his son when he got pulled over, in that shirt in that color, that maroonish purplish color. And then we see him grab a police officer up. Now this police officer, I believe he took his vest, that's what he's wearing at this time, and this is when he's starting to take over the police station. And from this clip we see a couple of things. Number one, this is not a white officer that he grabbed up, because when you put on that blue color, it doesn't matter about your skin color. You back the blue, right? You can be a black person, you could be a white person, you could be a Latino person, but you will still act as if you're one, and you will protect the other ones that you know did wrong. If you're a black man, you have a white officer friend or someone who colleague and he does wrong, you will back him and make up a story for him just because you're both police officers. We also could see that he has what looks like a type of scarf around his neck, and we can see that that most likely is to conceal the bulletproof vest. Once again, the purplish, reddish, burgundy beanie is on him. Next, we hear him say, no matter what you do, don't stop recording. So you can see that his plan is to record and live stream this whole event when it goes down to the world so they can all see what goes down. Next, we see him going to the police station. The police have their little guns, but their guns are no match for the artillery that he comes out with, and this is what allows him to go and take over the whole police station. Then we see this when you're given no justice, and that's what this is about. What would you do if it was your child? Not just your child, but many kids that look like your child, many kids that look like your family, and you see this happen time and time again. There's only so much that someone can take before they reach that breaking point, and that's what's going on here right now with him. You see him trying to be talked down, but at this particular time, there's no way to talk him down. And then he says the line, why is it that black people are always told to be nonviolent? And that is the truth. When we see the same exact situations happen with people from other races, even different countries, we never hear them say, oh, it's time to be nonviolent. When we see people committing crimes of violence against black people, we never hear the press say, hey, to those people, you need to be nonviolent. It's only when stuff happens to black people that all of a sudden the black people unite, and then all of a sudden it's, hey, y'all need to be nonviolent. That's what happens. That's what constantly happens all the time. And we see the cop saying that he is sorry that he killed his son, but at this point he does not care, and he responds with, but you did. I think the next line is very important because we hear the cop say, I did what I was trained to do. So what is this? Is this a training problem? Because it's obviously a problem. We cannot just think that inherently all these cops are racist, because this happens to police officers who are black that kill other black people. So it can't just be all racist cops running amok. Not saying that some of them aren't, because some of them are, but it can't be that. It has to be a training situation, or lack thereof, that allows them or makes them believe that this is the right tactic to take. It seems like a lot of these cops are afraid, and as soon as something hits the fan, like they're so afraid of black people that they have no choice but to pull the trigger ASAP. Like they can't be threatened. Their life can't be on the line. When that is what your job is. You're giving a badge. That badge is called a shield. A shield is supposed to absorb blows. You're supposed to absorb the blows. But these police officers nowadays are not willing to absorb any blows. We see the cops on their knees at gunpoint in this humiliating and also scary way, as if they're going to be executed. And this is what cops have done many times to many people that they have captured. As I said, this is all about the shoe being on the other foot. And then he tells the cops, you're going to be tried not by a jury of your peers, just like it is for any black person who's on trial. It's never an all-black jury for them. No, it's always all white people that are on the jury for them, that they do not allow black people, and they stack it so that black people cannot be on the jury because they're scared that they're going to let them go. So what he does is he brings out a bunch of inmates, and these inmates are going to be the jury for these police officers. And people may say, well, that's not fair. Well, that's how black people feel when they're up against it and they're in court. It's just about the same exact situation. And this one inmate that they're focusing on, that you can see that he has the bruise underneath his eye, I would predict right now that that bruise was given by a police officer, not another inmate. We see riots breaking out, and then we see him in the iconic Malcolm X pose, by any means necessary. That's what this means right here. And that's what this is all about. By any means necessary. What would you do if all this happened to you time and time and time again? How much would you be willing to take? This is going to be a very controversial movie, but I think it's going to be a movie that people need to see. You know, people don't mind going to see slave movies when black people are slaves, and it's controversial to see how bad they were treated. But I think a movie like this is better than that, because it's more of a reality check and can show people that, you know, this could happen. Let's hope that it doesn't, but it could happen. What can we do to prevent this from happening? Let's start the conversation. Again, please subscribe, click that bell, so you can be notified every time I drop a new video, whether I'm breaking down trailers, and I'll keep you posted on this whole movie. As soon as the movie comes out, I'm going to do a full review of the movie, and before it does, I'm going to do a live stream on the topics that we talked about in this. So make sure you subscribe and click that bell, and let me know how you feel. Will you go see this movie? Do you think the movie's going to be too controversial? Whatever your thoughts are, put it in the comment section, and let's talk about it. And until next time, you know who it is. Peace, and stay sexy.